top stories. Tourism Authority hosts event in Barbados to culminate celebrations for Inter-Caribbean Airways inaugural flight. Antigua's Prime Minister praised over heroic effort on Liat, and Colombian coal mine explosion kills at least 11. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Thursday, 16th March 2023. I'm Kyla Berridge. We start with news on the local scene. To culminate the inaugural flight celebrations of Inter-Caribbean Airways to and from St. Kitts and Barbados, the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, in collaboration with Inter-Caribbean and Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., hosted a promotion event at Hilton Barbados Resort. According to the Tourism Authority, the event provided ample opportunity to market and promote the Federation to various travel and tour operators. With the introduction of this new service, Minister of Tourism, Honorable Masha Henderson, shared that re-establishing strong regional connectivity is paramount to the success of tourism markets across the Caribbean.
After years of constant discussion, we are absolutely delighted for the partnership that we have established between St. Kitts and Nevis into Caribbean Airways and not airlines, as Trevor has said, and Barbados, reconnecting us to the rest of the Caribbean, expanding airlift to our beautiful island, specifically with Inter-Caribbean Airways, the new service that is between St. Kitts and Barbados, aids in developing the tourism industry in St. Kitts, which has been our main economic driver for the islands since the official closure of the sugar industry in 2005. Re-establishing strong regional connectivity is paramount to the success of tourism and markets across
the St. Kitts Tourism Authority says it has enforced a comprehensive marketing plan which aims to strengthen the destination's position to drive interregional travel to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Consumers in St. Kitts and Nevis are being encouraged to read and research before purchasing goods or services so that they can make informed decisions and get the best quality available. Communications Officer at the Department of Consumer Affairs, Tricia Rollins, shared this advice on Wednesday's edition of In Focus, which highlighted consumer-related issues in commemoration of World Consumer Rights Day, observed annually on March 15th.
The responsibility of the consumers would be, when they are shopping, read, research. Don't just buy things because they are on sale. This is your responsibility to know what you are buying, because in the event that you buy a product or you purchase a service and you go home and you no longer want it, a business is not entitled to give you a refund just because you changed your mind. So we want the consumers to know that it is their responsibility to read and research the products or services that they are purchasing.
She said along with the rights of consumers, there comes a lot of responsibilities as well.
The consumers have the responsibility to be informed, to be educated. The consumers have the responsibility to act with reasonable care and not cause damage to property or harm to other people. So, along with their rights, there comes a lot of responsibilities for the consumer.
Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Paul Quealy, stressed that dissatisfied consumers must not take matters into their own hands.
When persons encounter an issue with a merchant, do not try to create confusion in the business place. That is something that persons, I think, they need to hear and understand. Most times when we have a case, the businesses refuse to actually deal with the consumers. So when you have an issue with a product, if you cannot get it addressed amicably, try to come to the Consumer Affairs Department and we will address it for you. So be responsible in that aspect and not create a bigger situation out of something that can be.
To interact with the Department of Consumer Affairs, persons can visit the offices at Bladen's or call 467-3211 or 1150. Online contact is also available at the website www.midca.gov.kn, or a direct message can be sent to the Consumer Affairs SKN Facebook page. In Focus airs live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on ZIZ Radio. It is also live streamed on the YouTube channels and Facebook pages of ZIZ and SKNIS. Consumers on Nevis are being urged to manage their water consumption and make every effort to conserve the resources, as the island's water supply is already being impacted by the prevailing dry season. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works and Water Services, Denzel Stanley, says it is critically important that all residents on the island refrain from wasting water. He said Nevis, like the other territories in the region, is already experiencing the effects of reduced rainfall associated with the dry season, resulting in supply wells and other sources running low. The water official commended the Nevis Island administration for taking the necessary steps and making significant investment to increase the water storage capacity on the island, noting that every bit of water that we can have in storage is a plus for us. Mr. Stanley advised that it has become necessary for the water department to implement a water rationing schedule for some parts of the island. Effective March 15th, Spring Hill, Fountain, Westbury, Jones Estate, Mount Lily, Rollins, Upper Hamilton, Upper Morning Star, Beach Road, Upper Church Ground will be affected by the water management schedule between the hours of 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. And we're moving now to news on the regional scene. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown has received gratitude from Dominica's Prime Minister for his efforts to keep Liat flying. Roosevelt Skerrit commented on the issue during a news conference in the Nature Isle this week. ABS's Garfield Burford reports.
Comments from Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit in Roseau, which are certain to reverberate around the sub-regional capitals and beyond.
You're going to need a construct like Liat. And that's why I want to thank the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda for his heroic efforts in at least having a couple of the planes flying and providing the service, albeit not to the original level that we are accustomed to.
Prime Minister Skerrit calls the transportation woes a regional emergency. He says he was criticized when his administration took the decision to invest in Liat in 1974, but he says he cautioned his critics that Liat's services are crucial to the region. He therefore has this view about how to address the challenges of regional transportation.
I do not believe that there's any other entity that can reasonably be expected to replace the functions of Liat in the region. And government's investments in air transportation in the region cannot be replaced by private sector investments only. The governments must invest in intra-regional travel.
He says that's because intra-regional travel is a public good and private entities will only fly routes which are commercially viable. But will his government put its money where its mouth is?
This is affecting all of us so badly. You understand? And our economy is in a dramatic way that since the departure of Liat from the regional scene. Okay, and I'm saying that Dominica is prepared to, as we've met, and we're prepared to play our part financially. But you absolutely need a construct like Liat that will be complemented by the private sector airlines to give you the kind of service that you really need in these islands.
The comments from Prime Minister Skerrit are almost a replica of what Prime Minister Brown told ABS News in a recent interview.
I'm of the view that the OECS sub-region and Barbados should have a public sector entity to form the core of regional transportation, and that airline, whatever it is called, could be supplemented by the private carriers. One of the risks that countries in the region run by relying almost extensively on private sector entities is that they will not operate on profitable routes, and if they do so, it will be at an extortionate cost.
So two prime ministers on one accord on the way forward. Can they get more buy-in from their other sub-regional colleagues? And would this consensus translate into tangible investments? Or will turbulence continue to affect regional transportation?
Guyana Teachers Union President Mark Light has stated that they are ready to take industrial action if the government does not meet their demands. This comes after a trainee teacher at Fort Wellington Secondary School was allegedly attacked by a student and his uncle. Renata Burnett has the details.
Legislative reform. That is the call being made by the Guyana Teachers Union to the government. President of the GTU, Mark Light, is adamant that small fines without jail time is not a deterrent to parents who assault teachers. Instead, stricter penalties should be implemented to curb this disturbing trend.
The small penalties that are there inscribed in our laws are not serving as a deterrent. We like to see jail time for persons who attempt that, and it will send the strongest possible message. So that calls for reform in terms of our laws.
The GTU is scheduled to meet with the Chief Education Officer Saddam Hussein next week to discuss the plans on the way forward. However, if their demands are not met, they will be forced to engage in industrial actions, said Light.
The way of protest or industrial action has got to be a way of signaling to folks that we are serious about these infractions. And if it means that we have to take that kind of position, we will. Our position at Fort Wellington was just the beginning of the positions that we are prepared to take if these matters are not addressed.
Light is asking that the children of the parents who assault teachers to be removed from the public school system entirely, along with a more robust security system.
Apart from this incident, the others happened while school was in session, so we're not satisfied with the level of security at school.
Marlon Daniels, a 20-year-old trainee teacher at the Fort Wellington Secondary School, related that on Monday he was assaulted by a fourth form student, his uncle, and friends. The attack was as a result of the teacher disciplining the student, subsequently referring him to the principal's office.
While I was waiting on my people, I collected people to come home, to come over the road. One of them run behind me and grabbed my hand. That was the uncle. He got 6 other friends that were smoking, and the student himself. They started punching me to my face.
3 persons have since been arrested following the assault. The trainee teacher is currently on paid leave. Renata Burnett, reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
And on the international scene, a powerful explosion in a coal mine in central Colombia has killed at least 11 people. The incident happened about 46 miles from the capital, Bogota. A search is underway for 10 missing miners. More in this Al Jazeera report.
Dozens of rescue teams are working round the clock to reach 10 miners trapped underground since Tuesday. The operation is challenging because workers are about 900 meters below and the mine is connected to 5 others. 2 miners were rescued earlier.
At around 8:15 p.m. we heard a strong blast and then it triggered as if it were an earthquake. At that moment we left and we saw the mine entries ejecting smoke and dust.
The explosion at this coal mine in central Colombia is being blamed on a buildup of methane gas. Ambulances and families of the trapped miners have surrounded the accident site in Suta Tausa.
I don't think my son is alive. My heart says he isn't. I wish he is, but I don't think so. I don't think he's in this world because after a blast, that's difficult. Only a miracle.
At least 130,000 people make a living from mining in Colombia, and unions for a long time have been calling on the government to improve working conditions. Kulsum Sharif, Al Jazeera.
A U.S. judge questioned lawyers for the Biden administration on whether the federal regulatory approval given to the abortion pill mifepristone 22 years ago was proper, as he considered a request by anti-abortion groups to ban sales of the drug nationwide. More in this Reuters report.
A battle is playing out in Amarillo, Texas over nationwide access to a widely used abortion pill. As a group of protesters stood outside, a U.S. district judge on Wednesday questioned lawyers for the Biden administration on whether regulatory approval given 22 years ago to the drug mifepristone was proper. Anti-abortion groups are challenging the FDA's approval. They want a preliminary order halting sales of the drug nationwide, even in states where abortion is illegal, while their lawsuit proceeds.
The implications of this case are really, really huge.
Reuters U.S. National Affairs correspondent Gabriella Border covered the hearing.
The anti-abortion groups are saying that the FDA inappropriately approved this drug, mifepristone, back in 2000 through an accelerated approval process, which they are saying it did not warrant. And they also are making an argument that it was not sufficiently tested in pediatric population, so women under the age of 18, girls. One of the main arguments that the defendants made, the lawyers representing the FDA, was that revoking approval of this drug would cause significant public harm. It's very, very widely used all over the country and all over the world. And revoking approval for it would overburden the surgical abortion clinics in this country. One of the lawyers for the Justice Department also made the argument that revoking this long-held approval might undercut faith in the FDA's expertise and their judgment.
Border says the judge did not appear to be siding with one side over the other and seemed to be mulling a more limited ruling. A ruling against the FDA would hinder abortion access in every state, soon as medication abortion accounts for more than half of all terminations in the U.S.
This drug is used everywhere. After Roe was overturned, medication abortion and the ability to receive these pills via mail has been a crutch for a lot of people who are not able to have access to abortion in clinics since they live so far from them. So this would really go even further than the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade overturn in the spring by further cutting access to a key abortion access avenue in this country at this point.
The judge said he would rule as soon as possible.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy with volcanic gas. Winds are south-southeast at 6 to 13 miles per hour. Seas are 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. The weather forecast for today predicts partly sunny conditions. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:21 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:17 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Berridge.